So on we go. Let's get this working. Right, I am sure we have all heard of the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's one of those it's one of those sayings that's just kind of almost ingrained within our society with what we do. And it comes naturally to us. But there's also some kind of stats that back this up from a more business context. And that's that 84% of B2B decision makers start the buying process with a referral. And I would say that that's not surprising because there's something about word of mouth and introductions that speaks to our very tribal nature of wanting to connect. Back before pay per click and AI driven messaging, back before even the written word, if you had a business and you wanted someone else to know about it, there was only one type of marketing really available to you, and that was word of mouth. And partnerships and referrals very much speak to that innate tribal nature to want to connect with each other and work with people who have shared values. So, quick show of hands, either as I said, either virtual or with those who can see. How many of you are getting referrals into your business at the moment? Okay, all right. And how many of you are asking consistently? Okay, yeah, right. So, and then the next question was going to be how many of you got kind of a formal process or partnerships around this? But I'm guessing that's a no. And that's not necessarily surprising because same survey, only 30% of the companies had a formalized referral program. Um, but here's the kicker: those companies that do have formalized programs typically experience 86% more revenue growth over the previous 2 years. So I want you to imagine getting 86% more growth than 70% of your competitors. That would be a nice place to be. Are we in agreement with that? Um, and one thing that I do, it's not just about the level of growth as well. Typically, where you're getting your business in this way, it's with clients that you love working with, where there's a match in values, cycles are shorter. When you get this stuff right, it just works. But one thing I do want to say is formalized doesn't necessarily mean that it means it's not fun or it's not personal. It just means having some structure behind that. And that's what I want to speak to you about today. First up, very quickly, for those of you that I've not met before, who am I, why am I here talking about this stuff? I have a background in business membership. I work for the Chamber of Commerce. I then ran my own membership organisation, Business Scene, which you can see up on the screen there. We grew that to 2,000 members, almost entirely through referrals and partnerships. I then ran a benefit agency, providing access to the SME market for some of the big global brands you see on here. So I was responsible for working in partnership with them to provide them leads, reaching maybe a million business owners along the way. So I've had some successes. I've also either made or witnessed many, many mistakes. And so now what I do at Collaboration Junkie is I work with businesses just like you to help you identify, nurture and scale referral and partnership opportunities, shortcutting the mistakes and the learnings. I've made them so that you don't have to, essentially. Um, Very quickly, I've mentioned referrals and partnerships quite a lot. Um, in my world, I class referrals as the things you get from your clients, your wider network, anyone and everyone, right? And there's absolutely things you can do to make those more scalable. But they have different drivers. These are people who love you already and just want to refer you. Partnerships, which we're going to be talking about today, these are more strategic relationships. These are relationships that you go out and you proactively target because they have the ability to refer your ideal clients at the ideal time to buy consistently. These people know the value you can add to their business. You've just got to motivate them to want to refer you consistently. And that's what we're going to cover today. So, they're called strategic partners for a reason. And that's that you need a strategy behind it. And so the 5 steps in the title are my 5-step framework, which is dance. So we're going to be looking at discovery, which is who are your ideal partners, why would they want to work with you, assembly, which is the systems and the structure of your partnership program, nurturing, which is how you communicate with your partners, connection, this is how you help your partners to connect you to their audience, doing the heavy lifting for them so the partner actually delivers results. And last but not least, we'll look at engagement, which is how to actually go out there and get more partners. There is one golden rule that sits over all of this, though, and that's to make it easy. We're all busy, right? Life is busy. That was even before the summer holidays started. There's hustle culture, which I can't stand, but everyone's busy, which means people are unless if you want someone to do something that is outside of their day-to-day activity, unless you make it easy for them to do it, it's unlikely they'll do it, or they'll do it as well, or they'll do it on time. And so when it comes to partnerships, the golden rule is to make it easy for people to do stuff. Otherwise it goes on the I'll get round to it pile. Even when people want to do it, they'll put it on the I'll get round to it pile. And I don't know about your I'll get round to it piles, but mine I kind of look at guiltily around those things that I really want to be doing. It never seems mission critical. And so we don't want to end up on the I'll get round to it pile. We want to be in that it just happens pile. So let's kick off with discovery. So this is 1/5 of the framework, but when I work with clients, it's probably 1/3 of the work because it's that important to get right. It's not saying that you don't work with any other type of partner, but really understanding who your ideal partners are means that you'll attract more of them, and they'll be the partnerships that consistently deliver well. Step number 1 on this is to be specific. And the first thing is to be specific about what you're looking for. Like, are you just looking for eyeballs? Are you looking for more people on your list? Or are you looking for actual warm introductions to potential clients? And in that instance, how qualified do you want those leads to be? Because all those things will impact who an ideal partner is for you, because it will depend on the relationship they have with their clients, etc. The second thing around being specific is understanding who your ideal target market is. This is not a workshop on niching, right? But the more specific you are about the type of business or individual you want to work with, the easier you will find it to find your ideal partners. It doesn't mean I'm not asking you to suddenly niche your whole business. Think of it as a marketing campaign. If you were going to target the companies you love working with because you do great work and it's profitable and it's impactful, who are they? Because the more specific you are, the easier you'll be able to add specific values to a certain partner. Once you've got that in mind, I talk about coming up with going on a partner brainstorm. So the 3-step process you want to do, and I would recommend you getting out from your desks or just go to where you're a bit more creative and come up with a big old list. You want to think about your target market and think about the individual within that. So maybe it's the managing director, maybe it's a HR director, maybe it's an employee, whoever your market is. Think about that individual and think about all the other things that they are buying or involved in the buying decision process of, everything from hardware to software to other services to other expert advice, maybe anything and everything. And what that is, that's everything, because when you think of that, that's everything where you've got a matching audience, right? And this should be a big old list, because if you think of everything your target market is engaged with, actually it will take a little while. You'll write 1 or 2 or 3 things down, and then your mind will kind of start getting into the swing of it, and you should end up with quite a big long list of all different stuff. You then want to go back through that list and look for alignment. And so what this is where you go, oh, is that other thing they're talking about, is it likely that my product or service is going to come up in conversation? Because let's say you do accounting software, and your target market, the person in the business, is also responsible for purchasing the stationery for their business, right? Yes, you have the same target market, but the worlds that you operate in are so different that it's not gonna what you do is not going to come up in conversation all that often. So it doesn't mean you don't partner with them ever, but it's not going to be an ideal client for you. So that should shorten your list right down. And then the final check is authority. Does the person at that other business, is their introduction, are they operating at a high enough level where actually they can introduce me in and it's going to have some weight? Once you've done those three things, you should have a relatively short list, including the title. And from there, I want you to think. You need to have a little think about what your customer value chain is. Um, have you heard the analogy of people don't buy a drill, they buy a hole in the wall? You've heard of that in marketing speak? So there's a thing, right? And I'd say it's further on, it's even further on from that. It's they're not buying a hole in the wall, they're buying the shelf put up, and then maybe they're not even buying that. Ultimately, they're buying the satisfaction of having whatever the shelf on the wall or whatever it maybe is. And the same is true in business. Customers rarely are coming to you as the end-to-end solution for what their ultimate goal is. Um, there's a number of businesses they have a starting point and they have an end point. I think of it maybe as let's say it's a business and they want more leads, and maybe that starts off as a conversation with a coach, let's say their advisor, and maybe the advisor goes, well, actually probably we need to sort your brand out, and so the branding be the next person, and then from the branding person maybe there's a website that gets redeveloped, and then from the website leads on to maybe some copywriting, maybe some videography, so they've got some supporting materials, and maybe from there they're moving on to outbound agencies, maybe some social media, maybe someone on referrals and partnership expert, right? And ultimately the end result, they've engaged with all these people to have something that ultimately was about getting more clients in. If you understand where you sit on that customer value chain, you'll be able to identify who your really ideal partners are, because they're the people that sit just before you or overlap you in that chain. The people that come after you, they might be able to refer you occasionally, but typically by the time they're having conversations with clients, the decision around who does your bit has already been made. So you'll be able to provide them loads of leads, but they're probably not going to be able to do it with you. Once you understand where you sit in the chain, the next piece, and this is the real magic that underpins everything in a partner program, is what your partner value proposition is. Now, this is different to your client value proposition. So using that analogy I just had before, let's use copywriter. So an ideal referral partner for a copywriter would be a website builder, right? But the copywriter is not, their partner value proposition isn't going to a website builder and going, oh, we should work together because I can write great copy for your clients. No one's going to a website builder for a well-coded website. They are going to someone who does web development to build a website that works. So what the copywriter is doing, their partner value proposition, instead of writing good copy for the clients, their clients, they are helping the web developer deliver websites that deliver end results for their clients. And that's such a subtle shift, but putting the focus on the value that you offer to the partner, not their end client, just shifts everyone's perspective, and it gets people having conversations with you. Your ideal partners are people who want to refer you because you make them look better. You help deliver a stronger end result. And once you capture that and you can articulate that to partners, their ears will prick up because you're talking in their language. You're not just talking about looking to sell to their list because it's in your interests. You're talking about a genuine partnership. Are we okay on this principle? Is that yeah? All good? Cool. Right. Once we've got that, yes, fire away, Hugo.
On that analogy, that sounds more like if you're not trying to sell to their clients, that you would be almost subcontracting to them, using that copyright example. Is that kind of how?
Yeah, kind
That's
of.
where the conversation would kind of implies that it's going to lead.
Yes, and that's while it's not necessarily subcontracting necessarily. I mean, I know some people that do white label, and so it almost is that subcontract relationship. But it is it is looking to get to that point where what you do is so important to the end result the customer's looking for that they will introduce you in, right? Whether that's on you should speak to, let's use that analogy again. Whether the website builder waits to get awful copy from the client and then says, oh, you should speak to so and so, or whether
We
they're
work together often. I guess it's working together, but
absolutely
employee
that.
direct.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's the nature of a proper partnership, is that you're working together to deliver this end result, and it's a joined up process. And that's why it's so crucial to get this piece right. Once you've got that right, it's about getting your systems and structure in place. Now, there's a reason why I use this image, other than just loving music, hence the dance framework. I want you to imagine a new festival, daytime festival, with the best lineup ever. Whatever your taste in music, it is just the greatest lineup ever. Some people who split up ages ago, swearing never to reform, have done, and it's just all killer, no filler all day. You are super excited to get there. When you do get there, it takes ages to get in because the security is a nightmare. The ticketing system's rubbish, which adds more delays. When you get in, there's only one bar, they're serving awful drinks and they're all warm. Then the bands start and the lineup's all out of whack and the sound system's awful. Now, they may have got you excited to buy a ticket, but no matter how good that festival lineup is the next year, you're probably not going back. And that's because they're behind the scenes, their structure, their organization has been so bad that you have lost all trust in them to be able to deliver the service that they have promised to do so. And the same is true in your partner programs. Getting the behind the scenes structure right, it won't win you partnerships, but it will help you build them and it will help you maintain them and it will help you keep them. And that's what we want. We want long-term relationships. And so, yeah, it's all about building trust, but then setting up to scale. There's all sorts of things that go into this. I'm going to touch on two key ones. The first one is on tracking of data. If you've got partners who are providing you opportunities, every time someone makes an introduction to you, they are not just giving you an opportunity. They are giving you a little bit of their reputation every time they make an introduction. And we have to treat that with the respect that it deserves. So, so you need to know where people are in your prospect journey, and then when they're customers, where they are on your customer journey. And you need to be able to let your partners know. I've had partners before where they couldn't do this, and it said one of two things to me: either they were a crook because there was a commercial piece that they hadn't registered it because they were trying to not pay out, or they genuinely didn't know, which means they were incompetent. And crook, whether it's crook or incompetent, neither of those are a good look for a partner, right? So you can spend thousands on fancy partnership management software. The vast majority of us don't need that. It's better to have a spreadsheet that you use than a CRM system that you don't. But equally, most off-the-shelf CRM systems have more than enough to manage this stuff. The other one is around lead handling, which again comes down to this trust piece. We had a partnership with one of the brands that you saw on the logo slide earlier on, and it was going to be a new partnership for our members and prospects to get some free sales data, like 100 free qualified bits of data that they could outreach to. And we told the partner in question how successful we thought this campaign would be, set it up in a really nice automated way. This is going back kind of 10 years or so now. And the time came, we sent out our campaign. We generated 430 something responses in a 2-day period. And this big global partner, much bigger than us, weren't ready for it, even though we told them. And so instead of taking a 2-day response time as promised, it was a 2-week response time. And instead of having happy members and happy prospects wanting to know about all the other benefits of our membership, we just got loads of complaints. That partnership should have been a great one, but it never recovered because we'd lost all kind of faith in them to be able to deliver. So it's one of those things of when you're setting up, like that's not going to be necessarily the same for you guys. But even in that instance, if you've got a partnership and it's launching and the level of response you provide to your partners leads is a personal one, and it's due to launch on a Wednesday, but actually you've got a load of meetings booked all for the rest of the week, and you get 15 responses back and you don't have a chance to respond to them properly because you've got a stacked out week. Even simple little things like that make a difference. So it's almost that thing of expect the worst but plan for the best, because then you're delivering the right levels of service. The other side of this is reward and recognition in terms of the structure. Referrals can be a very grey, very, very grey area if you want to incentivize those up front, because they're people who already love us, our clients and our wider network, and most of them will be intrinsically motivated to just refer you anyway. So you say thank you afterwards, and there's things you can do. I'm a big believer, if your sector allows it, I'm a big believer in putting some commercials behind a partnership. It shouldn't ever be the main reason someone refers you. That's that partner value proposition. But that covers the 90% emotional decision making. But there is still this kind of logical piece. And by putting commercials in place, what it does is it elevates it from a friendly handshake. It also protects it from individuals moving and leaving companies. It kind of, for me, it just elevates the relationship. Now, not all sectors can do this. Not all companies want to do it. If you're working with someone and the partner says, no, I don't want to receive a commission, there are things you can do if you've already allocated it. You can either, it can either be something that maybe goes to the end client so that there's a discount rather than a commission. Or I know a bunch of people that that can't do commissions because of the space they're in, and they do a charity donation, and they make it to something worthy in their cause. I did some work with an accountant. They don't do commissions, but what they do is when someone refers someone in, a partner refers someone into them, they make an extra donation through B1G1, which is like this charity giving portal, to support underprivileged women in Africa who want to be business owners with financial training. So it's directly related to what they do, but there's still this extra component to the partnership. So there's lots of things you can do. In terms of the structure of, if you are going to do commissions, if you run a retained model, I'm a big believer in paying a lifetime commission on that's a percentage of that ongoing value, as long as your partners are still active. It just inspires people. For me, I'm of the belief that I'd rather have 90% of something than 100% of nothing. Percentage wise, it's got to feel fair and equitable to both parties. That's the only golden rule. I don't know the margins, the profit margins you work under. I've had software products that I've made 50% margin on before because they were established and the people kind of, that's what they did. I've had other stuff that I've only had 5% on because it was a low margin business. So, but I would recommend putting something in place. All good on that? Okay, so we know who our ideal partners are. We know the systems and the structure of the makeup of the partnership program. The next thing is around how we build the relationships with our partners. And this should be the enjoyable part. Working in partnership is fun. We're working with other individuals, working with other businesses. This is really about where we make the relationships watertight. And there's different reasons for communicating, which means there's different styles, particularly in the SaaS space, software space. There can be a tendency to over automate partnerships. Oh, we don't need to speak to our partners. They've got access to everything they need on this portal and it's all super automated and they can work with AI. Look, there are times where it is great to use AI and automation for transactional stuff. But do not forget that at its core, a partnership is a relationship-based thing. And so we need to make sure we nurture those relationships. And so there's loads that goes into this, but I want to cover three main things that I see people typically not do and have the biggest impact. Number one is setting expectations. This should happen before you agree to be partners. And it's the number one reason why partnerships either fizzle out or end spectacularly in resentment and people fall out. And there's short term and there's long term. Because long term, it may seem when you're in a really exciting meeting that you're on exactly the same page. But if you're just 5% out in your long-term thinking, that 5% over time, if you imagine it on a graph, the gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So for example, in 5 years' time, you might be thinking that you're going to enter into a formal joint venture with this organization, with another organization. They might be thinking that they're going to bring your services in-house and that you're a short-term thing. Now, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't partner with them, but wouldn't you rather know that from the outset? And maybe actually your partnership develops and that you support them doing that. So it's really important to get down and there's a question that I love to ask, and it's what does success look like? And what does wild success look like? And then you get someone's really honest answer. But then there's the short-term piece of what's going to happen. Who is doing who is doing what, and when, and what results do we think it's going to deliver. And that's not about beating people over the head if things don't work out like that, but it's about having a framework to make potentially awkward conversations much, much easier, right? So by setting these expectations and documenting them, sharing them so you've got agreement, it means you can make things become much easier ongoing. Second piece is keep your partners informed. So that tracking I spoke about, and that trust, because they're trusting you with their reputation. Keep people informed, keep people proactively informed so that they're not wondering what's going on. And if there's problems with a shared client, then make sure they hear it from you first, right? So this is where that tracking piece really comes. This is where semi-automated stuff is absolutely fine. Sending a monthly report, keeping people up to date, giving them access to live data, all that stuff is great, but keep your partners informed. And the third one, which is a biggie, is have strategic reviews. This can be the opposite of what I said before about people not communicating. I often get people that say, oh, we're speaking to our partners daily though. We don't need to do strategic reviews. I'm like, yeah, but you're speaking to them daily about what's going on in the partnership. How many times have you had a conversation with a prospect or a client where they've said, oh, we're just about to do this with this person. And you go, oh, we do that. And they go, did you? I didn't know that. And you go, well, we've spoken about it 3 times and you should have sent 4 emails about it, right? But it just wasn't front of mind. So by having strategic reviews, you stay front of mind. You're also able to ask them, is there anything we could do that we could be doing better? Because there might be niggles within the partnership that they wouldn't pick up the phone and talk to you about, but when you ask them in a more relaxed setting, they'll go, all right, yeah, you know what, there's this one little thing that if you could do it like this, it'd be so much better. And then you'll do it. And then the other great thing about strategic reviews is there's a little saying I like to use, which is curiosity is the birthplace of opportunity. And if you are just curious about what's going on with your partner's business and their world in general, they'll tell you things, which means you don't get that missed opportunity piece, right? They'll go, all right, yeah, we're just about to move into this sector or do this thing. And it'll create more opportunities for you, or it could create more opportunities for people that you know that can support with. And it just strengthens that personal relationship. So we know who our partners are. We've got the structure and the systems. We've got the communication processes. It's all now about actually getting the partnerships working and leads being provided. And that's the connection piece. This is what ties it all together and turns it from something that's a friendly handshake but nothing happens to consistent leads being delivered. There's another saying I like to use a lot, which is it's not common sense, it's experience. There can be a tendency for us to think that what we all think that what we do is easy because we inherently do it. And there can be this other thing because of that where we think our partners will just automatically know when and how to introduce us. That isn't necessarily the case. And it's, yeah, cheers, Chris. And it's definitely not the case if your partners have a team of people who will be implementing the partnership, because you might be speaking with a business leader who absolutely gets that kind of customer value chain we've been talking about and the value proposition. But if they're not the ones that are going to be activating the partnership day to day, then there's an extra level of support you need to provide. And this happens in 2 ways. First one's partner facing. So if your introduction is going to be based on a more personal piece, then you need to make sure that everyone in your partner's business understands when to refer you, how to refer you, what to listen out for in the words of their clients, all the stuff that's in your head that you inherently know because you do this. Give the benefit of that to your partners, whether that's in-person training or online, whether it's videos, whether it's cheat sheets, whatever it may be, make sure they're supported. Where we really want to get to with this is, and it's what we do when I work with people on my programs, is you want to find a way of actually ingraining yourself into their processes so that when they're working with prospects or maybe even at prospect stage or their clients, there are certain points in their own journey where they automatically refer you in. Maybe it's a small part of what you do, whatever it may be. And that's where you really want to get to with partners, where it's just ingrained. They don't have to remember to introduce you in because you're ingrained within their own processes. And that's really where that's the kind of the holy grail, as it were. The other side is customer facing, because that partner facing stuff is great for new clients and reviews. But if you want to open up your partner's kind of wider audience, then it's audience facing stuff. So that, look, there's a big old soup of words there, and I could add any more. Anything that you could think of you would do for your own normal marketing or promotional efforts, you can do for a partner. The important thing is to ask them what works for them. Like, you might hate public speaking, right? So Abby, it might be your worst nightmare might be getting up on stage in front of a bunch of 20 business owners, right? But if your partner runs quarterly seminars that get your ideal market there and people typically convert, it's time to put the brave pants on and do it, right? Like, I mean, your ideal partners, the communication styles should match. That's one of the things that go into how you pick them. But as well as having a suite of stuff you can provide, ask them what works for their audience, and ask and find out where they might actually be looking for more content. You can become the marketing manager's best friend at your partners, because every time you give them a good bit of content that matches up because it speaks to that partner value proposition we spoke about right at the start, it's another social post that they don't have to write. It's another article they don't have to write. It's another news letter feature that they don't have to do. So if you've nailed your partner value proposition, then you can become the marketing manager at your partner's absolute best friend. Absolutely. One thing to note on this: make it easy. All right, we said that at the start. So don't send them a post or an art as though you were sending a post out direct. I used to partner with Yell, so their digital used to be Yellow Pages. So their digital marketing team was massive, absolutely huge. I remember going up and seeing them, much bigger than my small organisation. And we were sending an email out for them every week from them, but to other people's customers. And every week they would send it to us as though they were sending it direct to their own lists, which means either me or someone in the team would have to edit it and then send it back to them for approval. Now, we kept working with them because they were worth 5 figures a month to us as a partner. But if they weren't, we'd have looked for another partner because it was just annoying. So with your partners, you want to tweak that copy. If you've got standard copy, tweak it so it sounds like your partner's sending it out. Do the hard work for them. And if you've got multiple partners, you only have to do that once, and then that's the copy you send out to your partners. The easier you make it for your partners to cut and paste, the more likely they are to send your stuff out, and the more likely they are to do it on time. So now we know who our partners are, and we're really confident in that kind of end-to-end program of being able to deliver excellence. It's time to go out and start finding partners. And I'm going to talk about making it easy again, but making it easy on ourselves. And it's around understanding who an ideal partner is. Your ideal partner, if you're just starting out on your partner program journey, your ideal partner is not the one that's going to game change your business overnight, right? Because typically, I'm not saying you don't start having those conversations, you don't have them in mind, but typically a partner that's much, much bigger than you, which we did work with. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but those relationships take longer. And also, if you get them on board and you haven't tested your systems and your processes, there's a chance they'll break you and they'll be less forgiving. So for most of us, it's better to start off slightly smaller with people that are friendly and we can test and we can measure and we can work things out. And for most of us, those people are either in our network or they're once removed. So the idea here, there's 2 crucial things. Remember your partner value proposition. When you're speaking to a potential partner, yes, you might lead the conversation, but it shouldn't feel like you're pitching to them. If it feels like you're pitching to them, like it's a client conversation, then then stop, because you probably are. And one of 2 things has happened. You either haven't quite nailed the value proposition, or they just don't get it. Not every conversation is going to go well. Not everyone is partnership minded. If you've had the conversation with 3 other people like them, they've all got it. there's a good chance that it's them, not you, and it's not going to work. So remember that kind of partner-led value proposition. The second thing is to use your network. So two things here. For most of us, we'll have an ideal partner within our network. And if it feels a bit icky to go out and go, can we have a chat about being a partner? A really nice tactic is to ask them for help. So you could go, hey, Milad, long time no speak. Listen, I'm just building out my partner proposition, and you sit right within my demographic. I couldn't ask you for some feedback, could I? I'd really appreciate it. Now, despite what the mainstream media tell us, most people are actually good people, which and also most of us quite like having our ego stroked. And so Milad will probably go, yeah, of course, Dave, no problem at all. And so I send him my stuff and has a look through it. Off the back of that, a number of things happen. I get really good feedback on whether I've hit the nail with my value proposition, all that good stuff. And then one of two things happens. Maybe Milad signs up as a partner. Maybe for whatever reason he doesn't. But if he doesn't, he probably knows other people like him that he can introduce me to. And looking for referrals to partners is one of the easiest ways to leverage a referral strategy, because there's no sell involved. So I love it when people say to me, oh, Dave, can I have an introduction to these types of people because this is how I work with them? Because all that is, that's an opportunity. That's not going, I'm not referring someone who might get sold to. It's a genuine win-win opportunity. And for most of us, we can build our initial partners just from what we've got in our either immediate or once removed network. And then as you build that social proof, that's where the trust comes from, and you can start doing slightly colder outreach and build and scale. So, in summary, have a really strong value, be really clear about who your ideal partners are, and have that value proposition that speaks to them and gets them excited about working with you. Make sure you've got the systems and the structure behind you so that you can build trust with the level of service that you consistently provide to your partners. Make sure that you communicate with them on both a human level to nurture the relationship, but keep that transactional stuff in place and make sure that there's expectations set. Do the heavy lifting to support your partners. Help them to connect you to their audience. And last but not least, remember that value proposition piece and use what's around you. So do all that together and you will be dancing all the way to the end. Right. Here's that 3-minute bit I said at the end around how you can work with me. Look, I run a group program on this stuff where you essentially go through the framework that we've just gone through, but in much greater detail with all the different components. And it's about accountability and it's about getting shit done. So there's a document, there's a 150-page document that we fill in as we go with all extra context. You can come back to it, and an action roadmap with detailed actions. It's done in a group format with a maximum of 8 business owners, so it's still personal to you. There's 2 live sessions a month. Those sessions are implementation heavy, so we don't just talk about the need for a process. We design that process in the sessions themselves. So actually, we get 80% of the way there in the sessions. You've just got to go and implement and finish doing the work. Content heavy stuff is done by month 4. The final 2 months are all implementation, accountability, and sharing of best practice and getting things done. It's £400 a month for this 6-month commitment. We kick off Tuesday, September the 10th. There are 3 spots left on that cohort, and it's the last one of the year. And there's an early sign-up bonus of an extra one-to-one session with me that you can either use in advance, during, at the end, wherever suits you fit if you just want some extra support. If you're interested in that, then feel free to drop a note into just put a yes in a chat or whatever, and I'll give you a call and we can chat about that. I'll also include some links on the follow-up emails. I also do this stuff one-to-one, so working directly with you and your team. Obviously, it's a much higher price point, typically starting at kind of £2,000 a month. But if that's something of interest, then happy to have a conversation as well. And that's it. That's me. I will put some details and things in the chat if you want to speak about any of that, which just leaves me to say thank you. And any questions on absolutely anything all around that? Oh, Abby, straight in there. That's what I like to see. Normally I have to kind of coax someone out. I like this. Brilliant. Fire away.
So can I ask if you're sort of part way through some of this? So we've started quite a complicated program of this and partner stuff.
Yeah.
Can you reset a bit? Because I'm going through thinking, oh, I shouldn't have really done that. Maybe we shouldn't have gone down that way. Is it possible to reset some of those things and just kind of apply a bit more process to it? Start my
100%.
Yeah, it's kind of like just it's the finishing, it's the kind of articulating it, probably been a bit scattergun. Lots of things to take away there. But can I go back and reset and kind of go, right, reset this? I kind of feel that, let's say, there's some of them particularly where I'm like, yeah, I didn't quite go in there, went with the wrong thing. So yeah, is it possible to reset?
Absolutely yes. And it's very rare. It's quite. I say very. Yes, it's rare that the people I work with have not got any partners at all in place. Right? They might not have been going out intentionally doing it. They might have some accidental partners, as I call it. Right?
Yeah.
But in this day and age, most people have something. And for me, it's absolutely fine to do it. And it's just about, and your partners will thank you for it, right? Because essentially, everyone likes working with the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And so you should be able to have an open and honest conversation with your partner. And for me, I would position it as a look, I think, you know what, this has been really exciting and and I would play it as that kind of, we've got all caught up in what we're doing. Would it be good to kind of actually put some proper structure behind this and some plans, just so that we all know what we're doing and when? And kind of it's not a negative thing that you haven't done it. Typically, people get really caught up in the excitement of this is going to be great, and it's almost counterintuitive to go slower. But if you go slower, you'll end up getting the great result. Less haste, more speed, and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's fine too. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. That's really helpful.
It could be even as simple as putting a marketing plan in place.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're doing this quite extensive program, and some people we're making more headway, and others we aren't, and some of this stuff, some now sort of putting some more structure around it, thinking, yeah, we didn't quite go in the right value proposition there because it's a bit different, because they're a bit different to them. But some of them, I think we've kind of lost our way a bit. And it's like, as you say, taking it back to just maybe some process, a bit more of a plan, maybe being a bit more targeted from our side, like which ones are really working out, which ones have gone, yeah, it'd be nice, but we don't really have that kind of lead, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Being a little bit more focused. I think it's just kind of resetting and, perhaps just being a little bit more specific with certain ones. Some it's kind of like, yeah, great, everyone gets it, let's run and do it. Okay, that's really helpful. Thanks, Dave.
The other thing I'd add on to that is where you've got partnerships that are potentially complex, like there's lots going on. I've been involved in loads of potential partnership conversations. I've learned the hard way with this Trainline. Actually, we were going to do a big thing with Trainline, and we were planning it out for maybe 3 months, and then something changed their side, and their distraction, their focus went elsewhere, and it never got picked up again. So that I'm a big believer in starting small. If there is keep planning out the bigger stuff, right? Don't limit yourself. But if there is something you can do quicker, and even if that's just a content share, or an event or whatever it may be, because once you start doing, it's much easier to keep doing, and momentum can build.
Yeah.
So you still want to have that roadmap to what the big picture stuff is, but there can be a real benefit in just getting going.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
No worries at all. Anyone else? We all good? Awesome. Right. Well, thank you all for coming along. I will, as I said, you'll get a copy of the recording and the slides and some links where you can book a call. All that good stuff will be with you later on today. Look, I speak on partnerships and referrals, so it would be a bit odd if I didn't put a request in for myself. I run these regularly, so if you've enjoyed it, saying anything nice on LinkedIn is always appreciated, but also there'll be details of the next ones on the follow-up email you get. Sharing those with anyone else you think would get value would be greatly appreciated. And also speaking, I do quite a lot of speaking, and that's where I get a lot of my work. So if you're part of communities where you think either this or the referral piece would add value, then again, I'd love an introduction. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and yeah, we'll speak soon. Cheers.
Cool. Thanks, Dave.
No worries, Hugo.
Yeah, catch up soon, no doubt.
Yeah, are you still in BBB?
Yeah. I'll
So
be on
I'm
the
doing
next session.
I'm doing the